like to introduce to all of you our principal sponsors. Palakpakan po natin sila. Okay, so let's begin by calling on Mr. Carl Pukoy and George Jimmy Capas. Palakpakan po natin. Mr. Pukoy is the groom. The groom treats him as one of his family and a mentor and a friend who always helps him. On behalf of Judge Jimmy Capas, Mrs. Emily Oliver is here. Her sister and also the cousin of the father's groom will represent her. Palakpakan po natin sila. Mr. Wilberto Guerrero and Miss Marivic Sales. Mr. Guerrero is the uncle of the groom, and in behalf of Miss Marivic Sales, Mrs. Jody Tequila, her godmother and friend, will represent her. Once again, a big round of applause. Mr. Rustico Layog and Mrs. Patria Zamora. Mr. Layog is the husband of the uncle of the groom, and Mrs. Zamora is a mother of a close friend in college of the bride. Mr. Ben Beller and Mrs. Asuncion Ruiz. Mr. Beller is the husband of the uncle of the groom, and Mrs. Ruiz is the colleague of the mother of the bride and the chief nurse of the Manila Central Hospital. Mr. Marlon and Melanie Bellino. Mr. and Mrs. Bellino, this couple is a close friend of the bride's mother. Unfortunately, Mr. Marlon Bellino, who was able to come because he is on the road right now, will be represented by Dr. Fred Ruiz, who is the husband of Mrs. Asuncion Ruiz and the friend of the mother of the bride. Once again, palakpakan po natin sila. And now, our viewers entourage. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our best man and maid of honor, Mr. Edmer Remocal and Miss Colleen Chong. Edmer is the cousin of the groom, and Colleen is the sister of the bride. Our groomsmen and bridesmaids, we have Mr. Edward Remocal and Miss Gemini Fatima Awilu. Edward is the cousin of the groom, and Gemini Fatima is a close friend of the couple and the friend of the bride in high school. Mr. Raymond Carbonell and Ms. Angelica Baptiste. Raymond is the uncle of the groom, and Angelica is a close friend of the couple and the friend of the bride in high school. Mr. Edward Chan and Ms. Rachel Valderrama. Edward is a close friend of the groom in college, and Rachel is a close friend of the bride in college. Mr. Christopher Dylan Lopez and Ms. Carmela Zamora. Christopher is a childhood friend of the groom, and Carmela is a close friend of the bride in college. Finally, Mr. Chalo Rose and Ms. Karina Ann Manao. Chalo is a close friend of the couple and a friend of the bride since high school, and Karina is the cousin of the bride. Okay, sa senior citizens po tayo. Of course, I'm just kidding. I'm talking about the flower girls. Ladies and gentlemen, our little princesses, Lorraine Layog, Martina Manaog, the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Rosico and Gemma Layud. Martina is the cousin of the bride and the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Liberato and Debbie Manao. Athena is the cousin of the groom and the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Jasper Oliver. Althea Rose is the cousin of the groom and the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Michael and Arceli Carbonell. And finally, Nicole is the cousin of the groom and the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Debbie Alama. Now, our candle sponsors, Mr. Patrick Bagsagol and Miss Desiree Joy Carbonell. Patrick is the cousin of the groom and Desiree is the auntie of the groom. Kay batang kita. Our bill sponsors, Mr. Hedy Ben Malek Cherry and Miss Joanne May Saquilabon. Hedy Ben is the boyfriend of the sister of the groom and Joanne May is the sister of the groom. Sila pala. Palapakan po natin ng malakas. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Ronald Saquilabon. Okay, ilinamin ko lang po. We have Mr. Mark Saquilabon and Ronald Saquilabon and supposedly Miss Billie Jean Ramsey. Ladies and gentlemen, in behalf of Mark Saquilabon and Ronald Saquilabon, Armon Pandy, uncle of the groom, will represent them. Palakpakan po natin sila. And in behalf of Miss Billie Jean Ramsey, Miss Grace Villasor, friend and colleague of the mother of the bride, will represent her. Once again, huwag po tayong magtawag ng palakpak. The ring bearer, the crown bearer, and the Bible bearer, respectively. Little Misters Jagon Tando, Quintin Manaog, and Braco Miguel Spectalvero. Malakas po ang palakpakan natin. Jagon is the cousin of the groom and the son of Mr. and Mrs. Jazz and Salome Tando. Quintin is the cousin of the bride and the son of Mr. and Mrs. Liberato and Debbie Manao. And Braco Miguel is the son of Mr. Arthur Miguelzero, close friend of the bride and also her makeup artist. And now, ladies and gentlemen, sa dalawang pares na aking tatawagin, pinakamalakas na palakpakan ang aking hinihiling. Ladies and gentlemen, the parents of the groom, Mr. and Mrs. Romeo and Emma Guerrero, with Grandma Mrs. Juana Guerrero. Ladies and gentlemen, muli po aking napalakpakan, Mr. Romeo Guerrero and Mrs. Juana Guerrero. Ayan, si Grandma po. Baka pagbintangan natin na sila yung couple. Lilinamin lang po natin. And now, ladies and gentlemen, okay, the parents of the bride, mga kaibigan, by the way, on behalf of Ms. Mary Gail Peña Florida, her sister, Mrs. Gina Pasagil, will represent her. Palakpakan po natin. And now, the parents of the bride, they are here. Mr. and Mrs. Mario and Gwendolyn Chong. Okay, at